Fire Radio.
Hey everybody, it's Rob from Frontline Mindset with National Fire Radio. Very excited today. I have a guest that's a little unique for us because Tom Trzepacz wears a couple different hats. You may have seen him at trade shows for Performance Advantage Company or PAC. He works for PAC Tool Mounts, but Tom's also got a background in the fire service. He's been a 27-year life member of the Bowmansville Volunteer Fire Association. He's served in, I think, pretty much every capacity that you can serve in the fire company. The only one I don't see on his resume here is chaplain. So, but maybe I can talk to him about becoming an ordained minister, and we can get that done as well. Tom, thank you for coming on the show today, man. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be part of this.
So, Tom, 27 years, just kind of for the viewers out there, give us an abridged background of how you got into the fire service and like what's that has been like for you.
Yeah, like a lot of kids, I grew up 9 doors from the firehouse, and my dad was a firefighter. And the siren would blare, and I'd run down on my bike and watch all the guys jump on the trucks and take off and be on that tailboard. And always wanted to do that someday. And again, with my father being in the fire department and my grandfather as well, I'm a third-generation firefighter, and it was kind of in my blood to do. So it's something when I turned 16 was the earliest you could join as a junior firefighter in our department. I jumped in and kind of haven't looked back since.
A couple things on the resume that I'm noticing here: past chief or an ex-chief for you served 10 years, 7 years as an assistant chief, also as a captain and lieutenant, and currently you're a lieutenant and the vice president of the company. And then on top of that, you're an Explorer Post advisor. So yes. You guys are still running an active Explorer Post up there, right?
We started an Explorer Post. In fact, my dad did it. He got it started. We're actually in we just finished the 25th year of our Explorer Post, and my 2 brothers are charter members of the Explorer Post, and my son actually joined about a year ago. So one of my jobs, at the fire station is really helping out with mentoring and being an advisor to the young, men and women we got coming in. Through COVID, we lost part of that, Explorer Post. We didn't have the kids come down, and we lost some interest. But the last couple of years, we've kind of grown it back up. We got about 7 or 8 right now, and we got a couple kind of waiting in the wings, waiting to turn 14. But really, from 14 to 17. We let them go on calls, after some basic training, keeping them safe, keeping them away. They don't go on mutual aids or, we cover New York State Thruway. They're not allowed to do some of that stuff, but, we let them get in there with us, train them. And really when they turn 18, we get just about a full-fledged firefighter once they take their classes.
Well, that was going to be my next question is how has that transformed onto, because Explorer programs are a lot of work, but the juice is kind of worth the squeeze in the end, I would think, because you're molding somebody who's going to be coming into the fire service, you're mentoring them. So all the behavior stuff is going to be, hopefully for the most part, like the etiquette of the firehouse. You've been teaching that since the age of 14, if you get them right at that point. And then I would imagine that this is like the pinnacle for them is when they turn 18, they get to join the company and become that full-fledged member. Are you seeing the success in that with the recruitment and the retention?
Yeah, that's really drove our recruitment and retention. Our department still does really well. And our area is growing, so we get a lot of what we call transplants, guys from other departments and girls that, kind of build a house in our district and kind of move out to us. Our district's unique. We got 20 square miles, and we have hotels and commercial, and we got some farms, and then we have, a lot of industry, and we get a lot of subdivisions and growth as well. So we got a very diverse district. And, these kids and young men and women, I should call them, they really start with us. And, we keep probably, I would say 60 to 70% of them. In fact, we just, like I said earlier, it was the 25th anniversary last year. So we did a little bit at our installation banquet, and we kind of just rattled off a handful of people that we know. One of our charter members is a higher up as a New York State trooper. We got a couple people that went on to be career firefighters. In fact, we had an assistant chief. He went down to Tennessee You were saying about I wasn't a chaplain, but I did marry one of my former explorers and his wife last year down in Virginia. I did a little justice of the peace thing for him.
Nice.
And again, to see these young men and women grow and either go on in the fire service and in the paid level or stay with us as a volunteer, it's great. And you got to have anybody join, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. They're coming in with no experience, where we take these young people and we really kind of train them the way we want them to be trained. And they learn from us from the ground up. So really at 18, they're just like, and up here we can get the classes, they could take their firefighter one and kind of be ready to go right before their birthday. So really they're just chomping at the bit to have their birthday and really, get their black helmet, as we call it, because our juniors explorers wear blue helmets. And they kind of hit the ground running. And we have a really good, really heavy trained fire department. And, half of our line officers right now, if not three-quarters of them, were all former Explorer Post members.
That's awesome. And it's an interesting thing for me, as far as like we've had conversations in the career fire service on the career side of it, of like, hey, where's our next members coming from? Because if you look like in Dutchess County, the test that I took in 2001, there's a couple thousand people taking like, we were spread all out the campus, right? And now
Right.
you're in a cafeteria in one room, like so we're not seeing the numbers that we used to see. And we've talked about like, well, okay, where are we getting these members from? And I think that Explorer programs, they have such a value in helping us, because like I get frustrated from the volunteer side of recruitment and retention, because like we launch the same campaign. Hey, is there a fire in you? And like we keep seeing the same results, but like if we, but at the same time, sometimes it seems like the older members don't want to engage with the new generation, especially teenagers.
Right.
But it's just, like I said, it's just such a because everyone that I talk to that's doing it right is able to point and say, oh no, look at our numbers like this. But yet
Yeah.
it never seems to be the driving force of the conversation for recruitment.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
it's tough nowadays with the commitment levels and the training levels and stuff like that. Really, if you're an established person working a couple jobs, have a family, it's really tough to just kind of start, as a firefighter, where again you start at a young age and work your way up. Um, you're kind of getting a lot of that training and things like that out of the way, and really it's kind of became our lifeblood to kind of keep us going and keep us strong. And our young people have a really good relationship with the older people, and again, I think it's because we've been doing it so long. There's a respect level, and we kind of teach that to the young people coming in. Hey, we want you to go there. You see a senior member washing a truck, go grab the brush from them, go do something, ask them questions, learn, and you know, and kind of be forward with them. And it's really kind of paid us dividends back, for the amount of good people we're getting through the program.
do you and the senior members understand to engage that, like when they're, because I think that's one of the other, you said, oh hey, when you see the senior member, the senior members are also engaging with them in the same breath.
Yeah, again, a lot of our senior members, they understand the value of the program and the value of having the youth around. And like any fire department, you have the different personalities, and you might have some young people who, their heads a little too big. You might have some old people that just don't like the young people. But we're one of those departments that I feel we're real strong, and really committed to each other and kind of look out for each other. So it's really a really good organization. And like anything else, we tell people in our interviews, whether it's an explorer interview or a new firefighter, we have people from the age of 14 to pushing 90 years old, some of our inactive lives that are still
Mm-hmm.
around and kind of help out and things like that. And everybody brings something to the table. So, you have to respect that. And again, everybody's bringing these talents and things like that. So it's something that, we really don't want to lose anybody because of, personalities and attitudes and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Now, you started, well, I mean, I'm going to say like 27 years ago, but how, like, what was it that hooked you into the fire service? Like, you grew up down, but what was your, What was the hook that finally got you? Like when you were, like, yeah, you joined, you chased the fire trucks, you buffed the calls, but like, what was the moment where you were like, oh yeah, this is exactly where I want to be, as far as like you just had that hook. You were like, was it the first call? Did you run a fire? Like how did that kind of take
You know,
place for you?
my first call was a car accident, and it was pretty minor and not a big deal. Um, but really, when I started to, run these calls, and again, I was active in the community in other ways, and a paperboy in my neighborhood and stuff like that. And when you start going to these people's houses, Chief Lasky's one of my mentors, and he always says you're meeting people on the worst day of their life. And really, when you started to see kind of making a difference and seeing people, especially that or even complete strangers that are really putting all their trust and everything into you when you walk in the door, um, that was really something that, hey, I want to do this. I really want to help people. I want to be part of this, and I kind of want to do more with it. I've always from day one, I really wanted to excel and advance in the fire service. And, I feel I've done that and continue to do that. And I really enjoy being part of it.
Uh, if you had to pick, Tom, like what are some of the highlights of your career so far that you've had fire service wise?
There's quite a bit. I've been able to serve for quite a long time as the fire chief and as a senior officer. And I really just enjoyed working with a lot of the people. I was able to serve during our 100th anniversary for our fire department, which to me was a big honor. Um, really big in the community, and really kind of giving back to the community and giving back to our senior members, recognizing where we came from and kind of keep that history and tradition alive that maybe a lot of young people don't understand. And that's always been a big thing for me. And again, try to promote that. One of the biggest things I was able to do, or one of my most memorable things, is going down to Schoharie County during the hurricanes and really going down there. We went down on a deployment to really help out, and we spent 7 or 8 days down in Schoharie County, myself and a crew from Bowmansville. We took two trucks down there, and we started out just basically kind of going out and running a couple calls and helping places, and then we were able to kind of get them. They lost their firehouse, Schoharie Fire Department, with about
Mm-hmm.
9 feet of water, and we were able to kind of get them reset up, establish a communication system between us and all the members of Erie County that came down. And that was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Just going down and seeing people that are just absolutely devastated and lost everything
Yeah.
was just kind of amazing to kind of go through. And really, it kind of changed me coming back from that and really seeing that people really lost everything. And for us to go down there and be able to help do that, it made me pretty proud and pretty honored to be able to be part of that.
I think that disaster response where disaster response is always it, you think but you have no idea, and unless you've lived through it, either as a responder or as a victim of like a natural disaster or
Right.
a man-made disaster. And I know Superstorm Sandy, like I thought I knew until we showed up in Long Beach and the power wasn't on. So at night it got really dark, and
Yeah.
and as I always, hey, I'm afraid of the dark. I always carry a flashlight, but you can't quite describe what a city looks like without power. And then you see cars tossed around like they were like matchbox cars on the side of the road. Just the devastation, and then there's people there trying to scratch out this survival. And I know for us, like we started immediately trying to clean the Long Beach fire station that we were at. Like we started, they
Hmm.
had water in it as well, and we like the refrigerator was a hazmat situation because whatever was in it had
Right.
um so like doing stuff like that, it is rewarding, but at the same time there was a mental toll of it that I just remember coming home and looking at my my own house and being like, man, I'm so thankful that I was able to go down there and help, but I didn't live through it.
Right.
It's
No, there's a lot of that mental capacity that comes with especially with disaster calls, and I've gone on a couple deployments for that, and certainly we've had nowhere near the devastation, but we've done a lot of snowstorm and blizzard responses, and even some flood stuff where we are, and there's a lot that goes with that, and like you said, just to be thankful for what you have, and again to see those people that are still to this day kind of trying to get their feet back under them and really rebuild. And that was years ago that it happened.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Every time I run into the guys from Long Beach, and I just like, especially ones that I recognize from the thing, they might not remember me, but if I tell them, "Hey, I was down there," they're so thankful that we were present.
Yeah,
So Tom,
we actually
this
went down. We went down to Schoharie. I think the year later they had their little town parade and things like that. So they invited the Erie County departments came down, and the way the crowd was kind of screaming and yelling and clapping for us and stuff. It was very humbling and very kind of cool to go back there and see how well they've gotten in a year, but to see so much more that they had to do. And it took years through some grants, and they finally have a new fire station
yeah.
and so on and so forth. But it was quite the event.
So on top of the things that we've just talked about, Tom, you also have another hat that you wear. You're the vice president of sales and customer relations for Performance Advantage Company, or Pack Tools, Pack Tool Mounts specifically, right? Like
Yes.
you and I have conversed at shows before, and I think this is a good segue because oftentimes we look for snake oil salespeople, or like that used car lot. I think, well, I can't remember what the movie was. I think Patrick Swayze was in it, about the used car salesman, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like, you have the background and experience and I'm looking at your website here. I'm of the department. I'm seeing a 2010 Suffin mid mount. The Suffin pumper from 2015, the utilities, the 2002 E1, the SVI heavy rescue. Like, you have the experience of being in a department that's active, but also with that comes the knowledge to help kind of design. And that's really one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, was the mindset of understanding some of the pack tool products and how they fit into the fire service. Because a lot of times I feel like we just put a pack mounting board on the back wall of the engine and we buy some clamps. And I'm saying clamps on purpose just because, like, we don't even know what the
Right.
terminology is for the products. But man, like, I looked through the catalog today, and just some of the, like, even the fact that there's a whole lineup on landscaping stuff. Like, how many firefighters have landscaping businesses on the side, and that,
Yeah, for sure.
and even on like, there was a, looking through the catalog, I was like, man, like, for the money, I should order the um, aerosol can holders and just drill them to my wall at home, because like that, I'm always trying to find the WD-40 on the tool
Right.
bench, and then I'm
Yep.
knocking it over, kind of thing. Like, there's so much going on here. So I guess one of the things I want to start is, like, when did you start your journey with pack tools?
So I was working as a groundskeeper, for the local school district, and a good friend of mine who I met through the fire service, Jerry Enser. He's our shop supervisor actually here at PAC. He's a past chief of Lancaster Fire Department. He called me up one day and said, "Hey, that PAC's looking for somebody to go to trade shows and kind of represent them." And I really wasn't looking for a job at the time, and I kind of came over, and while I'm sitting with Dick Young from Young Fire Apparatus, who once Young had kind of unfortunately closed down, he had started Performance Advantage Company for the tool mounting. He noticed and recognized that in building fire trucks that was a big gap, and that was kind of when he got done with apparatus, he got into doing the tool mounting. So I really kind of came in to talk to Jerry and while I'm talking to Mr. Young as well as Jim Everett, our president, and stuff like that. And within a couple of days, we were talking about a career shift for me, and I really wasn't looking for it. I was kind of excited about the opportunity, but nervous as well. And 17 years later, I'm sitting here as the vice president of sales and customer relations. And I remember being there that first week, and I told my boss, who is my boss now, I told him, I says, I don't want to be a salesman. No matter what I do, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be a salesman, a sales guy, because just as you said, there's a lot of a snake oil salesman out there and so on and so forth. But I've really come to really love what I do. Again, being in the fire service and really helping people, laying out some trucks, designing trucks, putting my twist of things on it, and being somebody that uses the tools every day. When I talk to customers on the phone, once I tell them what I do or my applications, or hey, I got that truck or I got that tool, um, you almost kind of hear a sense of relief from them that they're like, oh, okay, he kind of knows what he's talking about a little bit, and so it's kind of really helped me, and I've learned a lot from our customers and our dealers and so on and so forth, and really a great job with my company as we work with all the OEMs, all the dealers out there, and I've made just tremendous connections and networking and friends through the industry. Um, with really not, we're kind of in a league of our own. There's not really a lot of competition out there for us, and a lot of people use our products and they don't even know, like you said, that who made that clamp or who made that whatever on their truck. That it really is a performance advantage company bracket, and there's a lot of thought process that goes into that. And one of my jobs now is I'm part of, which I have been for some time, is product development. So really, putting a pair of fire gloves on, and what do we need as firefighters, or what can we do to make our brackets better, um, to safely and efficiently organize our tools and equipment.
And I think that's, like I said, I sometimes I see, obviously we've gotten to travel a lot with National Fire Radio, and see a lot of innovations on apparatus, and it's interesting because I can, like, sometimes it just looks like people just mounted stuff to mount stuff because they had the space to it
Right.
to do it, and I'm like, and at the point now where I'm like, okay, like, is this must have just been thrown in here because they were like, what are we going to do with it? And we're like, well, we'll just put it here, right? But like, I'm looking through some of the stuff on the tools, and like even like I just came across the utility pocket, because I think that's one thing that, you know on the apparatus, like, especially depending if you're out, on the air getting groceries or something from the store, you come back, like, you want to take something out of your pocket, where are you going to put it in the cab? Like,
Right.
there's not exactly there may or may not be a drink holder there or something. So there's all sorts of stuff that kind of goes together, and it's like that, peanut butter and jelly, right? Like that, ketchup and mustard. You have
Yep.
the things. So like when people are setting a truck up, what's something successfully that they can think of in the mindset of like, hey, I'm gonna put some pack mounts on my apparatus. Like, how best should they approach it to make it successful for them?
Really, what people have to do is identify what tools and equipment they're going to put on the truck, and that's really the first step. Um, we get a lot of people that got a new engine coming in, so they're just going to take everything off the engine and put it on the next engine. And I think we all, as firefighters, we could go through our trucks and grab those couplings or brackets that have never been used, or somehow we have three of them on there, and they're not on our truck check sheet. There's only one, but we never remove the three. So really, we have to identify what tools and equipment you want to mount, and really try to get it into what compartments you want to mount it in, and or what side of the truck. Like I tell people, like some of our rescue pumpers, one side of our apparatus is more auto extrication and car accidents, and the other side is the fire side. And certainly there's some crossover, but really, you know, as much as I'm a firefighter, I can't tell you how to run your department. So how are you deploying? What are you doing? They kind of using some of that stuff, and then we can kind of work into what brackets best fit, um, and along with some of the tool boards and our swing out boards and things like that, because you can really increase the amount of space you have, by adding some of these tool boards and adding some of these applications to increase your storage, because there's two things out there, like you said. There's, hey, I got room, I'm just going to throw more tools in here,
Right.
and then you got people that they're going to smaller trucks for a little bit better turning radius, costs, low manpower, but they still want to carry the same amount of stuff, and they really don't have the real estate or the room. So that's where we could try to help people kind of increase where they're mounting things, as well as a lot of our brackets are, and most of our positive locking brackets are NFPA certified. So they could safely go into the cab of the truck. We got an irons lock, two different versions of our irons lock. Some safely mount a set of irons as well as any other hand tools in the cab of the truck and keeping the firefighter safe as well.
And that's the 1901 standard, right?
Yeah, NFPA 1901 we use for our testing. It's tested to 9G, which is stated in NFPA 1901. We test above that as well. We also get into some military applications where we actually test to 100 Gs
Okay.
for military grade B shock testing. So, but yeah, anything that we stamp certified for NFPA, which is really all of our positive locking brackets,
Hmm.
those are tested to the 1901 spec.
And I think it's because like I know that the NFPA gets to be a hot topic in the or maybe a bone of contention in the fire service sometimes because people will say like, hey, it's not for practical application, and there's some other colorful things that we've come up with the acronym. But
Right,
really,
right.
when it comes to the inside of the cab, like this is things that like we're making sure the equipment, God forbid, we're in an accident, isn't flying off and like striking
Correct.
us in the head or becoming a projectile. And I think that's because I mean that how many times do I see just tools thrown? I mean, heck, even when I was on the line, I had a Halligan bar up front with me. I didn't have a mount to it because we didn't buy a mount, so I would just keep
Right, right.
because I wanted a Halligan in my hand when I got off the engine, so that in our low manpower situation, if I came to that shut door, at least while the guys were stretching the line behind me, the Halligan was there. But and in the back of my mind, especially as I got older, I'm like, hope we don't roll because I don't know where this bar will land somewhere, and hopefully it's not
Right.
embedded in my skull. But yeah, I think it's an important thing to have that understanding of where the standards are coming in because some people think the standards are to make manufacturers money, and I think there's a misconception about how the all this stuff is decided upon, but ultimately they're like things like this is firefighter safety we're talking about, and it's making sure that these things are going to remain where we need them you know
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, it's the safety and security of the firefighters. That's really what we want to do with our brackets. And I tell people all the time, because some people want to mount everything, and it might be a really big fan or something in the compartment that I might recommend just a couple of our universal mounts, kind of to foot it at the bottom. And they're concerned, well, what if it pops out of the bracket or the drawer? And I always say, like, if that happens, you got bigger problems. You're
right.
rolling the truck and it's in a compartment. But really, it's um, for the cab of the truck, we really want to see firefighter safety, and we know we have to carry tools in there. I know with some of this clean cab stuff, and there's a lot of different things going on out there, but I'm a firefighter. We know that firefighters are going to carry tools and equipment in the cab of the truck, and that's one of what we strive to is provide safe and efficient tool mounting. Because the other part of it is you can mount something, but it's really not efficient or easy to deploy and get your tool out. And then what's a firefighter going to do? They're not going to use that, and we want to
Right.
make sure that's being used, as well as the compartments. We were actually shooting a promotional video not long ago, and it wasn't even staged, and we opened it up and we actually had Halligan come out and hit one of the guys in the foot, and that wasn't even part of the promotional video, but we actually used it as part of it because, um, and everybody's budgets are getting low. Everybody's, you know, our stuff's a very expensive and meticulous tool. So if it can be mounted and it has a place for it, first of all, when they're cleaning up at a scene, you're going to see, wow, I got an empty mount. Where is that tool? I'm missing something. And the other part is it's not getting banged up. It's not getting damaged. Just laying in the belly of the compartment. Getting banged up going up and down the road. So it's really kind of keeping everything, in its place and keeping it safe, and the tools ready for the next run.
What are you most excited about coming up for the fire service when it comes to the world of like from PAC and then just in general as we're approaching all this stuff with the fire service?
I'm really I'm excited because I think we're finally kind of leveling off from COVID in the last bunch of years. Some of the technology that's out there, I think everybody's kind of I think it's leveling off. There's a lot of anticipation of what's going on in the fire industry. Um, the lead times on vehicles and things like that, and things seem to be getting better. That's taking a more positive approach, and there was a lot of panic buying, I think, for a while, and it's really kind of jammed things
Yeah.
up. So I really think that um, things are starting to level off. People are planning a little bit better, And really, I think it's there's a lot of great products that are getting put out there, and we're a part of a lot of them. So I really think in the fire industry itself is, I think you're going to see at FDIC this year and coming up at a lot of the trade shows that you're going to see a lot of positive outlook from a lot of these OEMs, where the last couple of years there's been a lot of uncertainty. And we're really hoping to, like I said, we're a big part of that. We have a lot of partners in our OEMs and our dealers, as well as of our end users. And we've been doing really well, with our our sales and certainly our product development. We got a couple new products that are going to be at the show this year as well, and we're pretty excited for for another good year and really just kind of helping out and being part of a great industry.
Tom, I know this is probably a hot potato question for you here. Out of everything that you have seen in your experience in the fire service, is there a department or apparatus that you've just been like, man, like this one, if this could be the flagship of PAC, or just tool mounting that you've seen that you've like been really impressed with?
There's been a couple out there. Certainly the couple I've been part of. My department's got quite a bit of PAC on it. Because of that, we got a couple of guys that work at PAC for my department, so we tend to go a little over the top with it. I know down Montgomery County, they were using a lot of our stuff. Certainly Metro in Texas, they do a lot of, they're a big dealer of ours and they do quite a bit. And they graphic our boards with reflective material and things like that. So there's quite a bit of stuff out there that they just really do a good job. And it's real rewarding and kind of cool to walk around a trade show or see a picture on social media. Especially the pictures. You see a big fire or a big wreck, and of course I'm looking at that, the one side of my brain, and the other side of it's looking at the apparatus to see how it's laid out and see the tool mounting and how the tools and equipment are.
Yeah, I think that's always kind of the interesting thing is like, especially with my wife, she'll say something about like, when we drive past an accident, and she's like, oh, you just can't help. I'm like, I'm looking at the truck. I'm trying to see what innovations they got on there, things that I haven't seen before. Like I'm not like, I don't care about the car accident. Like, yeah, it's a smashed up vehicle and they're taking care of it. Good for them and the citizen, right? Like I want to I'm trying to see what they've got behind door number one.
We've seen a lot of car accidents. You don't get to see that other stuff, and really, like you said, I mean, every firefighters, their brains are always working, and they lead different lives. The landscapers, the construction guys, the ones doing remodeling, and everybody's got that craft in their head. And really, when you see these trucks, I mean, a lot of them are work of art. What I see our stuff done with sometimes. I mean, I come back, from trade shows or somebody's telling me about it, and I'm like, wow, can you send me a picture of that? Because nobody here is going to believe that, or I've never seen that before. And so we're always learning from our customer base too. And certainly when we get into new product development, we got people always looking for stuff. But really, on how our stuff is used is really good, because if they're using it for that, it's going to help somebody else as well. So it's really good. Certainly a promotional piece for us, but really at the end of the day, it's helping another firefighter out.
Is there something that you think? I'm trying to think how to word this question the right way, and if I get it wrong, we'll fix it. Like, what's something that most customers or potential customers don't know about PAC that they should?
Most don't know the extent of the products we have. We'll talk to somebody that's been a customer for years, or even a dealer for years, and I'll quote them a bracket, and they're like, "Oh, is this new?" And I'm like, "No, we've had it for about 10 years or so." So I think most people are focused on the basics, like the handle locks or stuff the OEMs put on the trucks, and they really don't know anything else. They don't know what the balance of those brackets are, and we really have 50, 60 brackets and kits out there, as well as our extruded aluminum tool boards. And a lot of people aren't familiar with all of that.
And I think that's a great point too, is you say about the OEMs and the manufacturers. So we just completed at work our final inspection on our ladder truck from Rosenbauer. It'll be at FDIC.
Okay.
and we had specified in the spec pack tool mounting boards to be on the back wall of the cab and then on in some of the compartments, but we didn't like there was and I think there's just a little confusion on our end of when those um, boards were going to be added along with the shelving, and it worked out. Like it's not, I don't want to come off anything against Garrison or Rosenbauer because actually how they put them on was good. But I wonder, like, it made me also think of like how many times shelving is like Tucker from First Do Fabrication says if you don't have shelving right, you're either going to put it or you're going to remove it, and it's going to sit in the closet until you sell it for
Right.
scrap metal,
Right.
right? And the same thing happens, I think, on pack tools because, like I said, if the tool mounts that they put on the pack boards that swing out, they're going to work perfectly. Like they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
But like you need to, I don't want to say be cautious, but like when you said before about mounting the tools and figuring out what's in the compartments, if it's in the spec and the OEM doesn't have a specific spot or the manufacturer doesn't have a specific spot to put it, then like you're going to get, you know, a tool that, or the board or whatever your mounting system could end up in a compartment that doesn't make sense. And if you have to really put the thought into saying like, hey, that, and we totally lucked out because we just, like I said, it was a miscommunication on both of our ends, and more so towards Fairview's than anything else. But it worked out. But that's a huge
Right.
point of this.
Yeah, I
Is
think a lot of people, they're planning the truck, and certainly we're looking at the pump and the cross lays and really, the meat and potatoes of the truck. Um, and the tool mounting's kind of, gets overlooked a lot. It's easy to, you're running out of money. You kind of cut it out at the end and some thought. So really, a lot of thought process has to go into that. Once you know you're designing your body in your laying out, and what you're doing at the OEM, and maybe you're limiting maybe what's doing there, and rely on your dealer who's delivering your truck. Um, Once you can physically put some of your tools and equipment in there to kind of see what you have, but I think there's a good hybrid of both of those, especially if you're going to use like the back walls of the compartments.
mm-hmm.
Let the OEMs put those in there. Let them drill the holes into a brand new truck
Yeah,
and so on and so forth. And then your tool boards can always be added, whether it's the fire department, the dealer, anything like that. Our tool boards go out of here fully assembled, so they're very easy to install. Everybody's got that guy at the fire department, whether he's the mechanic or just a skilled laborer that's at the fire department that can very easily install our products. And I've laid out numerous trucks, and you think you got it, and then you get everything in front of you, and it's like, oh, this works better here and this works better there. So really, until you're putting that apparatus in service, you're changing that stuff on the fly, really to the end. And like I said, I do this for a living, and even me, I try to have a good layout. Our department's got 2 engines on order. We got a really good idea working with the line officers on what we're going to do. But really, until those trucks get in and we start putting equipment on, that stuff's going to be changing really until we say they're in service.
from the mindset too of ordering this is something that I never thought, I didn't consider in the process, but like if I'm ordering a new engine or if I'm ordering a rescue, a ladder, whatever the case might be, uh, the sales and customer service team from PAC is available for anybody who's going to be a user of the products to help them out as well, right? Like that, like if I called you up and said, Tom, I've got this compartment, this is what I'm looking to put into it, and I'm just trying to find the right product. And I talked to my dealer, and they just said, "Yeah, we've got pack tools, but we really want because, like you said, like, oh, is this something new? No, this is something we've had for 15 years."
Right, right.
Like, highly encourage people to reach out to you guys because the one who's going to know the product the best is going to be you and the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we work, like I said, we got a great working relationship with really every OEM out there and most dealers. So we don't want to take anything away from a relationship you might have with your dealer, and the sale can go through them. But we're here and it's a big part of my job, and the people that work with me is really that customer support. So you say you want to mount, all your rescue tools in the front bumper, and you want a tool board with 25 hand tools. Hey, what can I do, and can you lay that out? And most people have a truck schematic, the print with the measurements right out of the gate. That's something you could send over to us. We have basically a tool board drawing. We could draw the tool board up for you, basically show you what it's like. And we have engineering staff on as well that, we've always done um, different things, something out of the box. I mean, all of our stuff is customizable. There's
Right.
limitations like with anything, um, but our extruded aluminum comes in 10-foot length, so we really can kind of, you know, build anything, within reason, and we're happy to kind of put that together. I tell people all the time, send me a list of tools, and we'll kind of match up a bracket for each of those for you, and you can take that back to your dealer or your OEM or your fire chief, um, and we can certainly quote it. We've actually done where we've got the dealer on one phone and the end user on the other phone, and by the time we're done, we're sending the dealer a quote for everything the end user wanted. So we got a great working relationship with anybody, and you're more than happy to call and email us anytime, and we're happy to work with you. We'd rather do it on the front end. I think it's easier and going to be more accepting on the front end than trying to figure it out on the back end. And unfortunately, it's
Right.
on the back end. Most people are just going to be like, "Well, we're not going to bother with that anymore." So,
And I think it's also important too, because I know we kind of figured this out with some of the stuff with our ladder truck. You can, one of the beauty of like something with like a pack mount is that you can put it into the spec or design it into the truck, but if you can't, like you said, the mounting boards, let them drill it in. But if all the specific mounts, like depending on how you line up your budget, if you don't have it in this year's budget, but the truck's going to be delivered in November,
hmm
as a for instance, and then you're coming into next year's budget, like you can, like, this is something that just doesn't have to stay the same upon delivery. Like this is something that can totally be changed around on the needs of the department and the needs of the end user. So just another advantage of this.
yeah, absolutely. And again, you don't need our board to use our brackets, but with our pack track products and our aluminum, um, we use a channel insert that goes into the channel and expands to safely mount the bracket. And as you were saying, you can always move it around. You don't have to drill into that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the beauty of that is you don't have to take it in from the ends. It goes right onto the face of the board. Um, Again, our business is always evolving and changing, and you're going to go to FDIC and see all these new tools and equipment. Something's going to add on the trucks. You can very easily move brackets, take things off, and you're not drilling in. So that's really um, a big promoter of our product is to kind of use that. So to what we said earlier, you put those on the back walls of all the compartments. It's not taking up any more room. It's going to take up 7/8 of the depth, and then you got a tool board to use, whether you use it today or a couple of years down the road. And to that same point, a lot of people might say that they can't afford to do the whole truck or anything like that. So we say take one compartment. Take one compartment. You might have a lieutenant or a captain trying to sell their chief on it. Take one compartment. Maybe the engineer's compartment with all the fittings and couplings, and let's put a piece of pack track in there, put some boards in there. We'll help you get that laid out, and then you're going to kind of see how easy it is to use our products and how it can really increase your space and maximize your flow of work, and hopefully you kind of come back for more and keep continuing to do more on the truck.
Tom, you mentioned FDIC. You guys are going to be out at the big show. What booth is Pack going to be at?
We're going to be at the convention center. You put me on the spot. I forgot our booth number. I'll have to look it up.
Is
I
it
apologize.
4613? I think, right?
Yes, 4613. Yeah, we're going
4613.
to be we're right near Rev, Seagrave, Pierce. We're kind of right in the middle of all the kind of the big OEMs in the convention center, and that's our big show of the year, as is everybody else. And we're going to be unveiling some new products. We'll have our demo truck there and a lot of our staff.
Is there anything that you can kind of give us a sneak peek at as far as like just products that you guys are going to be highlighting this year at FDIC in particular, or?
So we got a 3-inch and a 4-inch super flex that we have now. That'll mount like cylindrical objects, O2 bottles, fire extinguishers. We have a 6-inch one now, so that's gonna
Okay.
mount. And we also have an SCBA bracket for like your compartments of your truck, so you can mount the SCBA, scuba tanks, water cans, different things like that. So the Superflex will look good on that. We also have a multi-mount that's going to be unveiled. It's basically using parts of our adjust-a-mount, but it's going to be an L bracket with the adjust-a-mount shelf that you can really mount numerous tools and equipment or hose packs and different things like that on. And then we also have a multi-mount, which is an L bracket that you can affix, 3, 4, 5 of our brackets to, and you got a pair of them, so you can string some equipment across. A lot more for trailer applications and different things like that. But that's some of our new stuff that we've been working on.
And that's another area of the fire service that I see a lot of is like we bought a UTV this year, so there's a trailer to bring it around. So like we're looking at how to put, thankfully we've got a kid. He's a little squirrely, but we like him. Tyler, he knows the product, so he was able to get some good tool mounts in there for us.
Great. Yeah.
So
the trailers, the trailers we're seeing with a lot of the, UTVs, seafood units, specialty collapse, a lot of Paratech stuff, strut stuff, things like that. So we do quite a bit of work in there. And one thing with us is, it's great to put the whole back wall of Pack Track, but that might not always be the best thing. We have like our mini track is 3 3/4 inches wide, and we'll tell people in trailers run 2 or 3 strips of that down the sides of the trailer. It'll give you a couple mounting points, and you don't have to add the increased weight and put a lot in there, but it'll give you some mounting points to whether it's brooms and shovels or fire extinguishers or dive suits to hang or anything like that. There's a lot of different things that you can use for that. And again, getting into the side by sides, we're working on. We do have some square roll bar mounting, and we're working on some round tube mounting that you'll be able to mount on different size round tubes, and then affix our brackets to that as well. Because again, we're seeing an increase in those, and locally we've done quite a bit of upfitting on those as well.
Awesome. Well, Tom, we've been going for about 45 minutes here. Where can people find you to get a hold of you?
So my email is tom@packtoolmounts.com. That's tom@packtoolmounts.com. Feel free to email me there. Check out our website, packtoolmounts.com, or you can give us a call at 888-514-0083, and myself or any of our customer service staff would be happy to help out.
Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on to do the interview and talk a little bit about the mindset of, Pack Tools, where you come from as far as your history in the fire service and how the two worlds kind of collide. We're going to be seeing you out at FDIC, so I'll see you out on the showroom floor. You'll have the demo truck out there as well with all the different mounts on it and stuff, so people can kind of see what this looks like in the compartment. And I think one of the other things is about that truck too, just really quickly. Look at the vehicle and see how much equipment you've put into that small footprint because of good solid mounting. So it's like I said, it's a good stuff. Tom Trzepacz, thank you for coming on. This is Rob, Frontline Mindset. We will see you guys out there. Tom, we'll see you at FDIC with Pack Tools, and have a good one. We'll see you guys later. Tom, hang out for a minute here.
Thank you.
National Fire Radio.